So we got to watch some of the Cowboys-Browns game. I mean, that's a good matchup, seeing Dak against one of the best defenses and Micah Parsons versus Myles Garrett. Why I really want to watch it, I want to see how Tom Brady would debut as a broadcaster. I was at his jersey retirement ceremony, whatever they want to call it, his Hall of Fame ceremony for the Patriots in Gillette. And the speech he gave was absolutely fantastic. Like, he had all of Gillette Stadium in the palm of his hands. He had everyone wanting to run through a wall. Tom Brady's a great public speaker. From what I've heard of, like, the people that have gotten to know him, like, away from a camera, away from a field, just like a good dude, like a normal person for as big of a star he is, and charismatic. I mean, look at him. Of course he is. He's all the confidence in the world. He was tight. It's the first time he's ever done it, so I'm going to give a break. And he's with the pro of all pros in Kevin Burkhardt. But it's like watching, even from like the on-camera intro in the booth, switching between the camera, and Burkhardt was very slow with his cadence and how the words were coming out. And I feel like Brady was more focused on not messing up than doing a good job. He wasn't terrible. He wasn't distracting, but he didn't stand out. And there's a lot of expectations for a guy they're paying $37.5 million a year, Foxes, to do that. And also it's Tom Brady. So like, I wasn't wowed, but like, just like, it's week one in the NFL. It's week one of the Patriots. I'm not going to say their season's going to be dictated off this result. I guess, Tom Brady will go better week by week. But for all the attention was getting around it, I was just like, oh, you know what? If he takes the plane and lands it without any turbulence the first time he's flying it, I think that's what he wants. And then week 2, he takes a plane off, then he'll start doing barrel rolls and doing, backflips, like all Top Gun stuff. And then the confidence goes from there. But I was under amused.
I think the hardest part of doing color commentary, and I've done a little bit of it, I know you've done some of it, it's figuring out like when to interject your voice and figuring out that like cadence between you and your broadcast partner. Mm-hmm. And I think once you figure that out and you're not overthinking that, then you can start to feel a little bit more natural and a little bit more comfortable. But I like what you brought up too about how he's a really great public speaker. I obviously do a lot of stuff on camera. I don't do a lot of public speaking. I have had to host like a couple in-person charity events, and that is far more stressful for me, like talking to a room of people, than it is talking to a camera, because I'm so used to talking to a camera. But when I get in actually like in front of people and I see people in the crowd, I'm like, whoa, this is different. And I would imagine that's very similar for Tom Brady, who does a lot more public speaking engagements, or has in the past. And now you're getting into a situation where you have to look into the camera and act like it's the people that you've been talking to your whole life. It's just a different situation, and it takes some time to be comfortable. You know what, George, you've heard this throughout your entire career, as have I. Reps are everything.
It is.
And you know what? I think there's no exception for Tom Brady.
And it's never as bad as you think it is.
True.
I think that's an important one. And also, like, you go into public speaking, like, you know what you're going to say. You know, if you're hosting something, whatever it may be, if you're going to go talk to a crowd, like Tom Brady's probably written it down, has it memorized. You ever give like a maid of honor speech or like officiate a wedding or anything?
I have not, but
okay.
I'm assuming you have.
I have. I've done both. And it was the most nerve-wracking thing when my buddy Mike asked me to be his best man. I mean, obviously I was stoked. And like literally I remember in the moment of him asking me, I'm giving him a hug. I'm giving a hug to his wife, Lex. I'm such good friends with them. Like it literally ran through my mind. I'm like, crap, I have to give a speech. Like, and I've never done this before. And that goes into prep. And but it's the same thing, like to your point of done it, got it out of the way, officiated a wedding. The key I got from that, I remember I made eye contact with my one buddy, Jordan. Thank God he was wearing sunglasses. But I almost started cracking up when I was officiating a wedding. And from that point on, I'm like, don't look at anybody. Look above the crowd, above the back row. But that's what it is. And like, he'll get better. He was a little stiff. And you say, too, of the chemistry. That's one thing I'll give him, though, is that as I'm listening, he knew when to get in and get out in between plays. Compared to Tony Romo, who just vomits all over the call, absolutely ruins Jim Nantz, who's one of the best at what he does. Like, Kevin Burkhardt's fantastic. Tom Brady will find his footing and his confidence will come, but he understands like when the play starts and when to stop talking in a way.
Yeah, I think he'll be great. Like, I think he will be fine. I think it's just week one and he's still kind of figuring it out a little bit. The thing that actually stuck out to me first was I'm so used to seeing Tom Brady speaking and his like face being there that when I just heard his voice, I was like, oh wow, his voice is just like a little bit higher.
I noticed that too.
Okay, I wasn't the only one. I was like,
yes,
that's Tom Brady. Like his voice is just a little bit higher than I thought it was.
Yeah, it doesn't like break through as much to it. Like, and you have Kevin Burkhardt, who, what is it, very, like, is it baritone if your voice is deep?
Yeah,
Are you a singer
so.
at
No,
all?
I'm not a singer.
Okay. We just like music. But Kevin Burkhardt has a very deep voice, and he has that announcer's voice, that big game voice. And then Tom Brady's higher. And so it is when you go through hearing Burkhardt boom, Tom Brady doesn't boom as much. You know, not to do the boomer doom thing that's on TikTok. I'm sorry, I had to reference that. But to the point being.
And I just love bringing that up too, because like as a woman in sports, you get roasted for your voice all the time. People are always saying, oh, you need to make it deeper. You need to make it richer. And you know what? Tom Brady.
Who says that? People on Twitter?
Oh, I don't know. It's just like everywhere you go, you talk to an executive and you're like, oh, you should, maybe like work on your voice a little bit or whatever it is. And it's like, I never take it really personally, but it's, kind of nice when you hear somebody else, actually truly like when you hear a man and you're like, you know what? Maybe you could work on your voice a little bit too.
Oh yeah. I think he definitely, like that stood out to me. I'm like, it needs to be deeper in some way. So now we're giving coaching to Tom Brady.
I don't want to say deeper, just like richer. And that's the piece of advice that I give to women too, because people are like, oh, your voice needs to be deeper or whatever. I'm like, no, your voice just needs to be like richer and fuller, like talk from your chest, not from your head.
There's like an authority you want to have too, like that command of when you're speaking and draws the attention as well.
Yeah.
Look at this. It's going like we're doing like a little broadcasting speech giving 101.
Yes,
the
exactly.
Chat as well.
Some advice.
This is the range you get when Laura and I are at the desk.
Exactly.
I'm excited. We'll see what game assignment he gets. Shout out to Greg Olson, New Jersey native. I thought he did a great job in the booth with Kevin Burkhardt, also New Jersey native. Sucks he got relegated to like the B team. He also had like the Falcons 15-10 loss. Like, oof. So that'll lead us to our next segment. We're going to go through winners and losers. I kind of alluded to who my loser is. Let's start with the winners, though. Week 1, as of the recording of this podcast, not the full 4 p.m. window has closed out in the NFL. But week 1, we could go back to Thursday night. What was it? Chiefs, Ravens. Then, of course, Eagles, Packers. Been through some games. Who are your winners and losers so far in the NFL week 1?
Okay, so my winner is actually from the Friday night game, and it's Saquon Barkley. Makes his Eagles debut in South America. 3 touchdowns, 109 yards on 24 carries. Obviously, the Giants let him leave in free agency. He goes and signs with their rival. And because they said, running backs start to decline at age 27, and here he is, first game with the Eagles, and he's just absolutely balling out. And on that note, my loser, so we're flipping the script here, is now Giants ownership. Because when you think back to Hard Knocks, and this clip was coming back out during this game, the offseason Hard Knocks co-owner John Mara, I have a tough time sleeping. If Saquon goes to Philadelphia, I'll tell you that. As I've told you, just being around enough players, he's the most popular player we have by far. That is my loser. The Giants ownership group did not want to lose Saquon. They did, and look at him now. They
should have pushed for more money, and now Joe Shane is trying to navigate. He's like, well, if you pay Saquon, we can't have the offensive line. It's amazing what Saquon Barkley can do with a good offensive line. Like, the Giants had one of the worst in the league. I still think they have one of the worst in the league right now. Saquon went to a great situation. We see how explosive of a player he is at 27. I think it's cool that someone that's so dynamic, someone that's so exciting to watch, and is a great dual threat back. Man, you go where you have Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson. You have Jalen Hurts under center, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith giving you space, but like the red zone scores, it was sick to see from him.
And I guess it still remains to be seen whether or not the Giants' bet that he would decline would be true. Like, you're going to have to wait a couple of years to see how that pans out. But as it stands right now, it's a bad look.
It's bad. My winner, I keep it cute here. I'm going Gerard Mayo. I'm just going local. I mean, it's a Gatorade shower. It's him. It's an interesting quote he said post-game of thanking the Crafts. Literally said, and I quote, not getting in the middle of anything we did football-wise, end quote. Basically saying, like, I want to thank the Crafts, obviously, for giving us the opportunity, thanking the Crafts for letting us go with Jacoby Brissett to build this team, to coach this team how we have. And for Gerard Mayo, I mean, they had a lot of, and we saw, like, a lot of padded practices, a lot of hitting. Like, he's like, we're going to come out and play football. A lot of long practices when it was really hot in New England, like those peak humid days of training camp. And it paid off how conditioned they were, and they came more ready to play than the Bengals. We'll see how it stretches out over 17 games. But again, a team that no one picked to win. No one picked to win, including me. Them to get that win. Gerard Mayo to get this. If it's the only win they get of the season, good for him. It's against the Bengals in week 1. I think they get 2, 3, maybe 4 more. And that's, again, my optimism or pessimism of them. But I go there. My loser, I went with the Atlanta Falcons. Like I just mentioned it. They lose 15-10. You're in your home dome. All this excitement. You give Kirk Cousins $180 million over 4 years. You bring Zach Robinson over from the LA Rams. You have Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, Bijan Robinson, all this. And you only score 10 points? Like, I get it. It's week 1. And I know the Steelers are a good team. That secondary is okay. But 10 points with Kirk? Like, that's just bad. That's just bad.